On Thursday, January 27th, the Housing Plan Working Group hosted a public education and listening forum to share information on the current housing situation in Needham and to gather resident views on the most pressing housing needs. Municipal producer Yu Xiaoyuan has the report.
Community housing specialist Karen Sonnenborg presented to the audience an overview of housing affordability in Needham. The 2020 census data indicates the population in Needham grew by 11% and housing units increased by 7% over the past decade. A majority of the housing growth had to do with multifamily developments. 98% of the new single-family houses during the last 10 years involved tear-down activity. 24% of households are spending more than 30% of income on housing costs, the traditional threshold of affordability. 11% are spending more than half their income on housing, which is considered a severe cost burden. When it comes to the households that earn at or below 80% area median income, the numbers jump to 60% and 38%. The affordability gap is up from $200,000 in 2014 to $500,000 based on the difference between the median-priced single-family home of $1.3 million and what a median income household could afford. Working Group co-chair Jim McKnight shared the history of zoning in Needham. Mostly zoned for single-family houses on a 1-acre or 10,000 square foot lot, over time, Needham created apartment districts and districts that allow multifamily buildings or mixed-use developments. There are also a few business districts that do not allow any type of residential buildings. Attendees expressed their views on what housing needs should be prioritized and how to address these needs. Among those opinions include expanding the use of accessory dwelling units and increasing the stock of starter homes.
The problem we face as a community with respect to starter homes, at least, is the land is far too valuable. That's a regional issue, but as long as that's the case, anything that goes on the market, if it's going to be affordable to a family who is less than relatively high income, it's going to go to a developer and it's going to be ripped down.
I see so many really nice small houses that are perfectly habitable, could easily be renovated and rehabbed for a family, for new homeowners that could be saved rather than torn down. And I wonder if there's another way to look at that and look at maybe requiring special permits for tear downs and having being able to have some dialogue about that.
With regard to starter homes, one idea is to rezone so that maybe just in certain areas of town, maybe within the MBTA and bus corridor, we allow up to 4 units to be built on a 10,000 square foot lot.
Residents want to see solutions that will not lead to budget override.
Everything, in my opinion, should be done incrementally. That in order not to destabilize the services that are provided to residents of this town, and the ability for the residents who reside here, not just the wealthy, but those are the rest of us that need to be able to live and afford to live here.
Director of Planning and Community Development Lee Newman spoke about the working group's next steps, especially how the process will continue to include public engagement.
Over the course of the next month, the committee is going to be working on completing what we call a draft housing needs assessment. And that's going to be followed on March 24th with a town-wide workshop where those housing needs and priorities will be presented to the community, and the community will be allowed to maybe go into breakout groups to view those housing needs and help us identify what strategies might be put in place and be supported by the community to begin to address those identified needs. And when the consensus points at that meeting are developed and articulated, we hope to do a town-wide community survey to get broader community input on what we have identified as potential strategies and objectives.
You can go to needhamchannel.org to watch the entire forum. For the Needham Channel News, I'm Yu Xiaoyuan.